So sailing is a long way off from being fully autonomous, but 2025 is shaping up to be a wave of innovation.
Nice. Fun, hun.
Sorry, I'm a funny person sometimes.
Oh my God. We made our way to Metz in Amsterdam, and it's like the show in the marine industry to see new tech and sustainability. And it is a massive, massive show that they only give you 3 days to explore, and it's not nearly enough. No.
Yeah, I feel like overall we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, we saw a lot, we learned a lot.
And the big takeaway is the fact that boating is just getting safer, more efficient, and easier, maybe more peace of mind.
There you go, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, here is a roundup of some of the smartest gear to look out for in 2025.
Minus electric motors.
Ooh, yes, because there were so many new electric and hybrid motors, it's gonna have to be its own episode.
And for clarification purposes, none of this stuff is sponsored.
No. This is a very cool new product, and this would be, say, your dinghy anchor or your backup anchor. Well, actually, introduce yourself, please.
Hello, my name is Ruben. I'm working here in the Anchorplex. We are a Spanish company. You don't need tools to assemble it or disassemble it. You only need these 3 parts that can be assembled in some seconds. And you only need to hold the assembly with a shackle. And now you have an anchor.
Anchor's good to go. I love it. Let's say you've got a 44-foot catamaran,
Yes.
and this would be, say, your backup anchor. You need to throw a stern anchor, something like that.
Yes, power cage anchor are perfect for this because it's aluminum anodized, less weight to store it on board, and easy to assemble it.
And do you know how much this one weighs?
It's 13 kilos, 0.7.
So this is 13 kilos.
Yes.
For our main anchor, I would not be picking that up by myself. But this thing,
So now I gotta give it a try too. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And this would replace an 85-pound, approximately, is what we have on our boat right now, 85.
so if I were to store this, what does that look like stored?
This is one of our customers. He don't have a lot of space to store it. He used this Anchorplex to resolve that problem. You can find other options, for example, for dinghies or boats. You can store it in a small bag, this bag. Here you can find the smallest one. This is a stainless steel anchor. The weight is 1.5 kilos.
1.5 kilos.
Yes, and
It's so
the
tiny.
flat line, 25 meters of rope and 3 meters of galvanized steel chain. Yeah, the same function, easy to assemble, and only the shackle.
Same shackle.
Yes, now you have an anchor.
Lightweight, easy to assemble, flat pack. I dig it.
Continuing on the anchor theme, we're doing a lot of anchoring today. I want to talk about a new product here from our friends at Mantis, and this is the Chain Hook 3.
Yes, M3.
Okay, so we've had it for a little while on our boat, a little pre-production model, so it's probably not exactly the same, but it's very close. And we found that it's even easier than the 2 version to get around the chain and to hook it before we send it down with the bridle. And was that the entire design behind this because of complaints on number 2 or?
Feedback. Let's call it feedback. Yeah. No, so the whole idea of with the chain hook, originally we had a regular chain hook that people use on the chain, was that it doesn't fall off. But on all the solutions we came up with over the last 10 years, they didn't feed through the roller easy. And the idea is that you need to be as small as possible. When you put the hook on the chain, it should be just a simple snap, obviously strong enough to do the job. And then when you're disconnecting, just as easy.
Versus the other one had like the wrap around and you had to pull it and
A
get
rubber
it
strap, it's
Yeah.
prone to failure.
Yeah.
We do have to warn the customers that the spring needs to be changed at least once every 2 years, ideally once a year.
I feel like I have to stop you there because we had the hook 2 forever and we've never had the strap break and it's never fallen off. So it's been great. But this one is definitely easier to use, I can say that for sure.
Well, thank you.
All right, we're about to get a little bit technical here, but hang with me because when we had our first catamaran, our Leopard, this was just nowhere on our radar. We never knew anything about load sensors until we started looking into performance sailing. And the biggest realization is that you don't have to be on a performance catamaran to take advantage of stuff like this. This actually is super helpful for, I would say, the newbie sailor, because it gives you so much more information. We're here at Cyclops Marine, and he is going to tell us a little bit about their load sensors.
Hi, I'm Ian Howarth. I'm the CEO of Cyclops Marine. We create devices that monitor the load going through the structure. For a catamaran sailor, this means as they're on the dock, the turnbuckle that is holding their side stays up, they can see the load going through that, so they can look at the instructions from the boat builder that will guide them to the load it should be. They can set the rig up to exactly as instructed. They can see that on their phone, because this is a wireless device. It creates a Bluetooth signal to give the load information to the phone. The other thing you can do is stream it to your boat instruments, so you can see it on your electronic displays.
And you kind of related that to like car tires, because we do get told, oh, your rig needs to be tuned to these exact numbers, but sure, what does that look like? How am I supposed to know what that means?
Exactly, you buy your brand new car and you get told the tire pressure, but at least you've got a way of monitoring that. When you have your new boat, you're told the rig loads, but you really need a device to advise what it is.
You know, because you're sitting at the dock, you're about to take off on a really big passage, you'd like to kind of know that your rig is in tune or that it's where it should be. And so now with these sensors, you can kind of tell where you are before you set off. You're no longer just eyeballing stuff and hoping it feels sort of right. Now you actually have numbers and real data to go with that. But then once you actually set off and you're under sail, and maybe the breeze is picking up a bit, and now you're like right on that edge, and you're looking at your reefing guide and you go, well, should I, shouldn't I, maybe it'll pass, maybe it won't. But now we've got a bit more information with a load sensor.
Exactly, so that live load while you're sailing gets streamed to the instruments. And the things in a catamaran, you don't feel it in the same way as a monohull. The boat doesn't lean over, so the thing is loading up, but you're not feeling that natural heeling of the boat. So you can apply a lot of load very quickly without realizing. So what we've done with some of the electronics brands is we've developed a warning dial, so you can see when I'm in the green, everything's safe, I can feel confident. As it starts to hit the red, this means the boat is getting near its upper limit of loading. Good time to start reefing. And the blue water cruising guys, they tell us it really is valuable at night, particularly when maybe they can't see the wind coming. And that red warning dial is just such a peace of mind for them. So it's that live load monitoring as well. What we're also able to do in the devices as well is give a constant monitoring of the fatigue cycling. So the structure of your rigging is constantly working, and that is building up a sort of fatigue history. And within these sensors, we can monitor that. So maybe annually with your rigger, you can just see what status your rig is from a longevity point of view.
Which is also kind of going back to your car analogies again, because I still think that's pretty great, because he's like, oh, well, how many miles you got on this thing? This actually kind of gives you real data, real information.
Fatigue in a structure is generated by the peaks and troughs of the cycle. It's loading cycles we're monitoring, and we can turn that into a very user-friendly graph to say, at this point on the graph, your rig may fail due to fatigue. So we're telling you how far you are away from a point of concern of fatigue failures. Another really good example is if you ever come to sell your boat, right now you get a boat surveyor that comes and checks these things. You would be able to present a fatigue history of your rigging, which is something that's never really been available before.
Yeah. Do the sensors work on all different types of rigging? So is it like your aramid, and maybe if you've got stainless steel rigging, some people have carbon fiber rigging.
We embed our technology either into conventional hardware like the turnbuckles. We manufacture load pins where we have the fatigue monitoring and the load sensing in that as well. We also have these nice devices which are designed for where you've got soft lashings. Yeah. So it doesn't always have to be the standing rigging of the boat. If you're interested in your main sheet load and you just want to lash something in, so we have this technology as well. And we do everything from an optimist all the way up to super yachts and load sensing and everything in between.
So what is the one for the optimist? Where would that go?
So that is, here it is here. This is our new product actually. So this could go in the main sheet or it could go in the sprit. And you know, the kids are going to grow up with data around them. We want to teach kids how to sail by feel. But if they can apply some numbers to that as well, this is what they're going to experience through the whole of their life. We're going to be surrounded by data. Yeah. And this is just helping, you know, put some analytics to the feel as they learn to sail.
So lots of information that you can get all about all the things you could never get information about before. Quick sidebar here to talk about today's sponsor, BetterHelp, because their support is what helps make this video possible. And we like BetterHelp because we are big believers in maintenance, and maintaining our mental health is no different than maintaining our boat. It's how we ensure everything keeps running smoothly, or at least we catch the early warning signs before we have a complete breakdown.
We'll figure it out.
And for me, working with a therapist is about more than simply talking to someone. It's about gaining tools and techniques that help us work through the stressful and messy aspects of life. For example, the therapist I used to work with would always start our sessions with breath work or a guided meditation, because if we let that stress and that pressure build, then it starts to affect our relationships, our work, and even our physical health. BetterHelp makes it easy to communicate with a licensed therapist when and where you want, no matter where in the world you are, which, as a sailor or anyone who lives in a remote location, travels a lot, or simply has a hectic schedule, is invaluable. And you get the same quality that you would from an in-office therapist, but with the ability to schedule live sessions by phone or video, and you can message your therapist anytime from anywhere. And it's super easy to get started. You just head over to their site, answer a few questions, and BetterHelp will connect you with a professional who fits your needs and preferences. And one of my favorite features about BetterHelp is that if the first therapist just doesn't feel like the right fit, you can easily switch until you find someone that you really connect with. So if you're struggling with something, why not let BetterHelp become a part of your maintenance routine? Just click the link down in the description box below, or head over to betterhelp.com/gonewiththewinds to get 10% off your first month of therapy.
A lot of anchoring things today, and this one I think is pretty interesting. We always have an anchor alarm on the iPad, and it's kind of reliable most of the time, but sometimes it's not. This is like next level. It's an anchor marker, so you know where your anchor is, but it also has an alarm built in. So we're gonna ask you to tell us just a little bit about this system and what it does, and if you could introduce yourself as well.
Okay, hi, my name is Mattia. I'm the CEO of Vision Anchor, and this is Vision Anchor S. So it's a smart anchoring buoy that marks the anchor, as you mentioned, but it also tracks it, right? So we've got a location tracker in there that tracks the position, so if it moves, you set a radius, and if it goes out of that radius, it sends an alarm. You also get a history, so you can see where your anchor was for the last 24 hours. You can see the trend of movement, and you've got a backup alarm if your phone battery runs out in the base station, so you're always safe.
It's actually tracking the anchor movement more than the boat. Like with our app that we use right now, we just guess like, okay, we're dropping the anchor, we're gonna hit the thing, and then we're gonna make the circle, and sometimes when we're really close to land, it's a little nerve-wracking because you don't know if you set it right. So this is actually tracking if your anchor is moving.
Exactly. With the boat, you're always getting calculations. It could be a different position and you don't know exactly where the anchor is. Here, you've got a buoy that's actually tracking the anchor, and it's always above it, right? Because it's got a self-adjusting system, so it's always under tension and it keeps it there.
Even in a choppy wave, it's keeping it tight.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll know with the algorithm if it moves at like, I don't know, 1 meter or 3 feet, whatever, we'll know, okay, so this was a wave, it wasn't an actual anchor movement.
So there is some sort of built-in delay that it knows, like, okay, if it moves right back.
Yeah, exactly, because anchor movement's very specific, right? It's not going to go like 10 feet in half a second, so we can calculate that.
If somebody decided they wanted to take it for themselves, what would you say about that?
That's excellent, because obviously we've got an anchor alarm, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as someone moves it out of the range, it's going to start beeping. So then you can like bring your slingshot and just, hey buddy, yeah, and get your boat up.
Okay, and also if somebody took it, would the GPS track that far away if they were, say, taking it?
It was like the GPS would track it for a while, so you'd know where it was. But yeah, instantly, if it went out of range, you would know about it.
So it also can be used as a trip line, I think you were telling us earlier.
Yeah, the rope itself, it can carry 400 kilos, so it's a Dyneema rope, very secure. So if necessary, you can pull your anchor out.
If our anchor gets stuck, then we can just...
Exactly.
Okay. Well, it's a great product. I think it's very interesting to have an alarm built on to the anchor. It's probably where it belongs in the first place.
Yeah, that's what we think at least, yeah.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks for coming.
So this one isn't exactly new, but there is some new information and new data that I think is very exciting, which has to do with some third-party testing from PropSpeed. Now, tell me just a little bit about the testing that was done.
As you say, it's not new technology. We've been around 25 years, but data integrity is a big piece of our brand and our product. So we got it tested by a third-party independent to verify what is the impact of PropSpeed's foul release coating on a cleaned propeller from the day it's applied versus a fouled propeller over the season. And the data returned showed that you get about a 4.5% fuel savings once applied against the clean propeller. And the reason it does that is because the foul release coating reduces the surface tension of the prop, which reduces the energy required for it to move through the water, which then in turn reduces your fuel burn and also associated greenhouse gas emissions.
So in layman's terms, the hydrophobic aspect of it makes it really slick, so you get less resistance and it's going to give you better efficiency through the water, which I actually think is super cool. And I get that like people are probably going, oh, it's like a little over 4%, really? But that's a very tiny tweak to the bottom of your boat to get that much more efficiency. And it's like, I've always thought of prop speed as just keeping barnacles away. And we know that like, yeah, you got to clean your bottom, keep the barnacles off for efficiency, but just straight up, even just having it on there, period.
Yeah.
It's not just about the barnacles, it goes a little further than that. Now you also mentioned something about anodes.
Because it's got a silicon coating, we're actually reducing the total metal surface area exposed between the flow of current from the anode to the metal because the silicon isolates it. So that will help extend the anode life because the anodes aren't working as hard and therefore less heavy metal in the water overall and less anode replacing. And so when you put the coating on, it's really important to make sure you balance the coating in your anodes so you get the best out of both coatings and your anodes. Less heavy metal, better performance, everyone's happy.
How cool is that? Same product you've already been using, but now it serves a double purpose. It was always there, but now we know about it.
This is not only really beautiful rigging, but it's also lightning protection. And that's what I want to talk to you about. This is a Future Fibers product, and you've basically designed something inside here to help with lightning, directioning, protection, what would you?
It's kind of a protection layer, yes it is. The way the lightning works on rigging is that it can end up being transmitted through those eventually, and because the carbon fiber is conductive, it can affect the entry and exit points normally. So what we developed here is a multi-layer material in which we are safely transmitting the electric current from the lightning from the carbon fiber rods, which are the structure of the AC6 product, up to the metallic interfaces, which then connect with either the mast or the hull, to provide a safety protection around the critical points.
So the protection is inside this last little bit that's then connected to this part. And
yes, it is. There is still a gap, so there's still some arcing going on, but this arcing will happen not in the structural part of the cable, but in a sacrificial surface. So it's preventing the cable to have structural damage, which could involve in even a replacement of the rigging in very extreme cases.
You have your mast, you're gonna have lightning protection on that, and there will be a cable running down, a very special cable that you guys use with Southern spars, right?
Correct.
And then the lightning could decide to come down here if it finds this the least resistant. So then it would go down here, and this would then guide it down into your chain plate and then out through like a plate or?
Correct, yeah. Normally there is a dedicated grounding plate on board for lightning protection.
If it's a catamaran, would it be too different? Or would it still be coming to the one side?
It's a good question.
That's not his job.
I would say there would be two of them. Yeah.
Okay. And then you said you tested some of these products in the lightning lab, right?
Exactly, yeah. It was a very interesting project. We started just looking at how to protect the rigging, but then we realized we had to look also upstream, right? Like where's the lightning coming from? So we also looked at how to improve the protection on the mast, how to improve the down conductor, which are commercially available, looking for the best option to reduce this, what we call the side flashing, so the current from the lightning that ends up in the rig. And we tested in both high voltage and high current facilities, which are two different ones. So for example, in the high voltage, we reached up to 1 million volts, and that's one type of test. So basically we brought a piece of a mast and we were looking at the lightning path. So basically by naked eye, you could see the side flashing going on, if it was pinching, for example, the insulation of the down conductor, or it was jumping from the lightning pole to the masthead, for example. And then in the high current facility, we reached up to 200 kiloamps, which is basically the most demanding value for aerospace standards.
200 kiloamps.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that's 5 amps.
I think 5 amps could kill you already.
Yeah.
So that's 200 kiloamps. So it's quite a lot. And those type of tests, because the current is actually the one creating the damage, because it creates the heat, are those in which we validated whether the solution was strong enough or not. So it basically is where we destroy the samples, looking for the limits.
Wow. Okay, so the idea is to help give the lightning a path, that energy a path to get out of the boat as easily as possible.
Correct. Yeah, we looked at every element in the lightning path and how to improve it. So for example, in the lightning pole, in the lightning air terminal, it's called, we look at different spike designs, different geometries or materials, and then also different ways to connect all the items in that assembly, because it's quite complex. It's also like a structural part. You need to bear significant loads at the top of the mast in this device. So we also need to find smart ways to make connections strong, but also non-conductive, because if they are conductive, they can end up being another path for the lightning to jump from the, let's say, landing point down the mast.
And this is all just in super yachts right now, but hopefully this will trickle down into some of our size yachts, the 40 to 60 foot range of, cruising boats.
Absolutely. I mean, there's know-how, let's say, or the knowledge that we acquired, it's applicable, to, let's say, conductive materials. So that would also apply, for aluminium mast or stainless rigging.
At the Lightning Lab, do they just let normal people in? Can you go and look at anything, or is that?
I think we could make it happen. Yeah.
So I want to go to the Lightning Lab so bad. It just sounds cool.
Yeah.
Creating lightning in a controlled area. It's
and
watching stuff blow up and.
We need to be behind the safety shields, but then and just wear the earplugs,
because it's loud.
It's quite loud, as well. So
awesome.
But it's fun to watch.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. No worries.
I wanted to talk about our battens. These are carbon fiber battens, and they are in our Doyle sails. And I haven't been able to talk about them because they're always covered up. So now is the perfect time to introduce you to SeaTech.
SeaTech, we've been manufacturing the battens for 25 years. What's unique about our battens is they're rectangular hollow battens. Every single batten is custom designed for the boat. So we work with the sail loft to specify the right stiffness and bend characteristics. And then the laminate is carbon on the inside, and we put S-glass on the outside. So
S-glass is?
It's a high-performance fiberglass. There's not many people that use it, but it works well with the carbon because as the batten bends, the two materials reach their strain at the same time, so it's a stronger batten.
If you made it all carbon, it wouldn't be as strong.
Not as strong, but we have a sliding scale with our design, so depending on the application, like the AC boats, they're using ultra high or high mod America's Cup.
Okay,
yep.
I just got to make sure.
They're using high modulus battens, like quite thin, very stiff. But then as we drag the scale to something that's more forgiving, we put more S-glass in them, to the point where we have some battens that are all S-glass, just so they can take a real beating and still survive.
And what's in our boat?
Yeah, rectangular hollow batten with a mix of carbon and S-glass. At the top of the sail we have a bit more S-glass because you see a bit more action in the battens, and as we get lower down where they're supported, we have a higher carbon percentage, so that just keeps the weight down and the stiffness right.
And you said our battens are custom to our Doyle sails, and based on the length of each one, the thickness changes.
So the battens are made on mandrels, so we start with a male mould and then we wrap our material around it. At the front end the mandrel is quite thin, and we put quite a lot of S-glass there because at the front of your battens see the most bending, so we like a lot of material there. And then as we work back on the batten, the mandrel increases in size and we use a little more carbon and less S-glass, so it's a lighter batten because it doesn't have to be as strong back there. And they're designed so that they've got the right stiffness and aerodynamic shape to match the sail. So we work with the sail makers on that as well.
Okay, so we can't give Doyle all the credit because every time we raise up our sail, we're like, it's just perfect shape, but it's the battens and the sail.
Effort.
Okay, That gets me to the sails. Typically, sails will last, say, 3 to 5 years or something for a high-performance laminate. These should last much longer, right?
We've seen battens that have been 6 times around the world, and they come back to our workshop 12, 15 years later, and they bend test the same the day they left the factory. So yeah, I mean, it's great to see, and we do get a lot of boats that are reusing battens just because they last the life of the sail.
Which is where this comes in.
Yes.
I thought that was so cool. What are you calling it? A tension lengthener?
It's an internal sleeve tensioner, so it's got a longer range of adjustment. It does come in handy when the batten needs to be extended or it's been cut short or something's happened. You've got a bit of margin for error there.
For example, if we decided in 5 years to replace our Doyle sails with, say, a slightly longer sail, or to get more sail area or whatever, we redesigned our sails, and the battens are now just a little bit too short. Then we can use a product like this to extend it.
Yeah, adjust it out to more batten length.
And what is that hardware?
We're specialised in composites, so a lot of carbon fibre, and almost all of our fasteners are titanium, so we moved away from aluminium or stainless, just because you've got carbon in a saltwater environment and the electrolysis just destroys anything. So titanium being inert to it is just our material of choice, and it's also lightweight.
It's stronger, it's lighter weight, and it doesn't corrode. And I had no idea that was on our sails.
All the fasteners, we custom make them out of titanium.
Before you switch to titanium, you were seeing like little rust spots showing up on like a white sail, and people didn't like that. So then,
It's even like an anodized aluminium part, like on a rig with electronics, you can get like an electrical leakage, and then that will just fast track any corrosion. So, you know, some yachts are fine, and you can have an aluminium part that will last some time, and then others, after a year, it's just like powder.
So you just said, screw it, let's go titanium.
Yep, titanium.
Oh man. Let's talk about one last thing, and that is our gaff batten. That part gets a lot of attention, and for that, you can't just have a regular, what do you call this?
Batten box.
Yeah, so you can't just have like a regular batten box. You're gonna want something a little stronger.
Yeah, you guys have this style here. The gaff battens, because they're supporting the sail, they're running 50% stiffer than the batten below, and especially at the head of the sail where there's a lot more movement. The loads are a lot higher, especially on like cruising catamarans that top batten failures with studs and things. So we work with Harkin on a stud that's higher strength to it with our receptacle titanium material, so the load's been taken there.
I don't know why I never thought about it being titanium, because this weighs nothing. It should have been very obvious.
Every part of that has just been optimized for strength, because when battens break, it's not very fun.
No, I can imagine. We've lost a couple battens on our old sail and our old system, and it was not pretty. Like shards of fiberglass everywhere inside the sail. It was.
Yeah. Now I think your battens, do they have a Spectra cover on them?
Ours have a Spectra cover, yeah.
Yeah, so that's in the unlikely event that your batten does break, that Spectra cover will contain any carbon splinters so that you can remove it from the sail. We've had 25 years of seeing failures of every different type, so we just keep iterating our designs to eliminate those failures.
It blew my mind when we took our battens before we put them in, and I held it out, and it was stiff the whole way.
Yeah.
Like on their old ones, it was just like, whoa.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But then have a look when you're sailing in 20 knots. And
it's got a nice curve, and it's got great shape. It just blows my mind. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share this with us, and really appreciate it.
A pleasure.
All right, that was a lot. I hope you found something interesting there. If there's something you want to see like a deeper dive on, then just drop us a comment down below. And otherwise, we'll see you next time. And thank you so much for watching.